One of the reasons I was able to retire from my 9-to-5 job at an earlier age than anticipated was because I set annual financial goals for myself. And although it was a lot of hard work, I was laser focused on hitting my numbers every single year. Now we are 60 days away from the new year, and a lot of people tend to wait until January to set their annual goals or their New Year's resolutions, and I definitely did that in the past. So in this video, I wanted to talk about goal setting and how we can approach this differently to ensure that 2026 is our best year yet. Now here's the truth. New Year's resolutions do not work. Get this, 25% of people abandon their New Year's resolutions after 1 week. 60% of people abandon them within 6 months. And only 5% of those who lose weight on a diet keep it off. A significant percentage gain back more than they originally lost. And even after a heart attack, only 14% of patients make lasting changes around eating and exercise. But while New Year's resolutions do not work, goals do. And while I completely understand the allure of starting afresh in the new year, there's definitely a benefit that comes from starting these goals before January 1st. And so in this video, I have all the tips for you on how to choose your goals, how to set good goals that you'd be motivated to work on, and how to achieve these goals instead of writing them down and forgetting about them as time goes on. The first step is to pick your goals. The way I do this is through a brain dump. So everything I would love to achieve over the year, whether big goals or small goals, I write everything down. It doesn't have to be 20 or 30 items. It can be 7 or 10 items. The more important thing is to put it down on paper. Write it down. And don't be afraid to put things down that on the surface may seem impossible. This is not the time to edit yourself. For now, just write it down. And please do not do this in a rush or when you are in a bad mood. Take some time out to plan. This is your life after all. This is the next 12 months of your life. So sit with a nice cup of tea, sit by the fireside, get some nice music on, light a crackling candle, whatever gets you in a calm, reflective mood, go ahead and do that. Okay, super. So the next thing you want to do is to curate your list. In this part, we are going to break down everything into 90 days or quarterly goals. So here you're going to pick 2 to 3 things that you'd really like to focus on over the next 90 days or the next quarter. Now I know that it might be difficult to choose 2 to 3 things, but it's almost physically impossible to make 10 major things happen in your life all at once. But by definition, goals take efforts to achieve. And if your effort is divided amongst 10 different things, it makes the process more of a burdensome experience as opposed to one that could be enjoyable. And so if it's a burden, you most likely won't achieve any of them. So here, less is more. Don't worry about the other things on your list for now. We just want to focus on these things over the next 90 days. And for anyone who might be considering focusing on everything on their list, please don't do that. Because when you are going for new goals, you will be working towards them on top of everything else that you have to do to maintain your life. Now, to help you decide on which goals to focus on, here are a few questions you can ask yourself. What goal would make the biggest impact on my life right now? In other words, which goals have the most leverage? And this question will help you focus on the goals that would have the most ripple effect. Perhaps help you achieve the other goals better, faster, cheaper, or easier. So for example, I would like to lose weight. I would like to save $5,000 over the next 12 months. I would like to grow my business. I would like to learn a new language. I would like to become more confident in public speaking. I would like to learn how to negotiate better. So choose the goal that would make the most impact on your life right now. The second question to ask yourself is, do I have the time, the resources, and the energy to make progress on this goal right now? So can I realistically move the needle over the next 90 days? And this is important because you avoid setting yourself up for burnout and frustration. And instead, it helps you pick the goals that fit into the current season of your life. And the third question is really around variety. Do I have a variety of goals in my short list? It's good to have a variety of goals so you're not stuck in monotony for the first quarter of the year. So instead of picking 3 financial goals, you can have 1 financial goal, 1 health-related goal, and 1 social or experiential goal. So for example, I would like to save $5,000 over the next 12 months. I would like to drink 2 liters of water a day, and I would also like to make 3 new friends or maybe join a group that shares the same hobbies as me. Now let's talk about how to set good goals. The biggest problem with the goals that people set is that they are generally way too vague. When your goals are vague, you really don't know what you're working towards, and it's not going to be very motivating. When I set annual financial goals for myself, I don't just say, oh, I'd like to save or invest more. What does that actually mean? If I saved $100 over the next 12 months, well, technically I have saved more, but have I really achieved my goal? So you can see why a vague goal isn't really effective. What I do instead is I attach a specific figure to it and I break it down into a monthly figure. So for example, my goal could be to save $5,000 in a high yield savings account by the 31st of December next year. And this is approximately $417 a month. And I would do this so that I can stop spending all of my income and feel more financially secure. Another example of being specific with your goals is that I join a prayer session every morning at 6:30 or 7. And what I absolutely love about this session is that the prayers are super specific and they are backed with biblical scripture. Good goal setting will follow what's known as the SMART framework. The goal will be specific, measurable, actionable, relevant, and time-bound. So let's adopt the savings example I mentioned earlier into this framework. Specific, I want to save $5,000. Measurable, well, you can easily measure whether you've been successful by looking at your account balance at the end of the year. Actionable, you have income that you can move into a high yield savings account every month. Relevant, well, because you want to become more financially secure. And time-bound, you have a target to hit this goal by 31st of December next year. It's really important to make your goals time-bound because if there's no limit, your goals will just end up floundering about and you really won't get anything done. So if you know that you're the kind of individual who doesn't work well outside of a timeline, you just have to hack your own psychology. Now, I find it easier to break my goals down into tiers because a year is a long time and before you know it, you've completely forgotten about your goals. And we do not want that in 2026. So here are some goals of mine that I've adopted to the SMART framework. The first thing is I would like to declutter my house. I want to complete the Less Is Now 30-day decluttering challenge in January by following a schedule of getting rid of 1 item on day 1, 2 items on day 2, and so on. So up to 30 items on day 30. So that I would have decluttered a total of 465 items by the end of January to create a calmer, more minimalistic living space. The second goal I have is to increase my fruits and vegetable intake. So drinking green juices or smoothies 3 times a week so I can feel healthier, improve my hormones, and have clearer skin. A third goal is to reduce screen time. I will reduce my average daily non-work screen time to under 2 hours by using grayscale, app limits, and weekly tracking to sustain it for at least 90 days so I can be more present, improve my sleep, and make room for offline hobbies. So you can see how those goals have gone from being vague to being time-bound and having an emotional reason behind them. Okay, so once you have chosen and you've set your goals, this is the part where we get to execute on our goals to make big things happen in our lives. The first thing you want to do is to write down your goals. Putting your goals on paper creates a psychological contract. It's a visual reminder. A study found that those who write down their goals are 42% more likely to achieve them than those who don't. The next step is to break down your goals. So I mentioned earlier that one way you can do it is to break it down into quarterly or 90-day goals, or maybe even into monthly goals if that works better for you. So when you have your goal, you want to start thinking, what needs to happen right now to get this in motion? So for example, I set myself a goal of consuming more fruits and vegetables. The first thing I need to do is I need to have a weekly meal prep plan. I need to bring out my juicer and set it on the counter so I see it every day. I need to set an alarm to juice on 3 days a week. And I need to go grocery shopping or shop online for the ingredients. And these are all things that I can start doing right now. So you can see how I've taken something that I wrote down as a goal and I've broken it down into actionable steps. The next thing to do is to insert this into your calendar. Once it's in your calendar at a specific time on a specific day, you know it's going to happen. So in my example, I would put in my calendar what days I would like to go grocery shopping. Maybe Saturdays or Sunday, so I can plan for the week ahead. I've also put in my calendar what 3 days I would like to do my juicing as a recurring event, so my alarm goes off first thing in the morning. And you don't need a fancy app for this. Google Docs, Microsoft to-do list, the calendar on your phone, which is one I use all the time, or maybe even the free version of Notion. All of these options are more than sufficient. And the final tip is to check in with yourself often. If you find that you are missing your weekly or monthly goals, it might be time to reassess. You might have to say no to going out because you find that you're eating into the funds that you're meant to be saving. Or if you have a goal to write for 1 hour every day, you may need to turn off your phone or put it on Do Not Disturb for an hour. It's really important to check in with yourself often if you're serious about achieving your goals, because it is only natural to lose momentum after a while, or maybe even get a little bit lazy, particularly if you're doing this on your own. And so regular check-ins will keep you accountable. The last thing I would like you to remember is that goal setting and achieving goals is really a skill. If it was so easy, we would all be super efficient, ultra healthy beings. Or maybe your issue is that you don't really feel inspired to have a goal, and maybe you've been chugging along in life and nothing really excites you. Do not be too hard on yourself. This might be a cue to speak to someone about it, maybe speak to a counselor, tell them where you're at, and they'll take it from there. And remember to be kind to yourself, even if you don't fully achieve your goals. This is not about perfection, because the incremental improvements that you make are definitely worth celebrating. Life happens, and there will be lots of things that are unpredictable, and there also will be friction that can cause a setback. When this happens to me, I like to see it as taking a little break from my goals. As long as I get back on track and I just keep going, that is the most important thing. So there you have it. That is how I approach both my quarterly and my annual goal setting for the new year. Thanks for watching. Let's finish 2025 strong with a lot of excitement for 2026. I'll see you in the next one. Look after yourselves. Bye.